All right, Maddie, welcome back to the Ask Maddie Show. Maddie, how are we feeling?
Feeling good. Every day is a good day in crypto.
Well, we're happy to be back, guys. But first, become a Crypto Charge member. Click the pinned link in the comment below. You can become a Crypto Charge member. 2-week free trial, super easy. On today's show, we're going to be diving into some of your guys' questions. You guys left a lot of questions on last show, so we're going to be diving heavily into them. Maddie, are you ready for the questions?
Let's get into it.
Oh, we have to hit him hard, Maddie. Chainlink is just an oracle. This was left on Twitter. One of our clips from last show went a little bit, bananas. Maddie, what's your response to this?
So, it is really just an oracle if we're going to be very top level superficial about it. But, when we're looking at crypto as a whole, I think that everyone's kind of gotten to this narrative of, freedom money, or we have to be all in on this coin or all in on that coin. And this is the ETH killer, or this is the Solana killer, or whatever. And everybody's trying to be the killer of another coin, but they don't realize that there's just so many different sectors, and some of those are spilling from legacy sectors and some of them are new sectors. But oracles, for example, are very important because those help us point to data points like weather or pricing. And specifically, when we talk about pricing, that's really where the value of oracles come in. So, when we look at Chainlink, it's done really, really well. It has a lot of partnerships. It's a fantastic project, and I think Link will do really well in the next cycle and set a new all-time high. This particular discussion came from us discussing API 3 versus Chainlink. And again, I'm currently invested in API 3 instead of Chainlink just because API 3 hasn't really had the opportunity yet to flourish in a bull market. And they're doing a lot of the same things that Chainlink is doing from an Oracle perspective, just using offline storage. So again, when I look at projects, I don't want to be a maximalist no matter what I'm looking at. I want to make sure that I'm diversified in things that efficientize payments, logistics, oracles, privacy coins, right? Everything has its place. And I want to make sure that I'm not being a maximalist in any category. So I buy API 3. If you hold Chainlink, you're going to do really well. And I'm not telling you guys you should be selling your Chainlink and buying API 3. That's just how I decided to place my chips. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive with it. My risk appetite's big.
Wow, what a hot response, Matt. We're starting off hot here. Sell my DAG for Casper?
Okay, so, I always see this on Twitter, sold all my this for this. Well, if you're going to do that, that's fine, right? It's your investing, it's your dollars. You do whatever you want with your portfolio, rebalance it as you see fit. I have sold things in the past and then rebalanced and bought other things. But, when you're looking at high quality projects, and there's nothing wrong with the project, for example, DAG, which is Constellation Network, and Casper, they're not really comparable, right? It's not like you're selling your XLM for your XRP that do very, very similar things, right? When you're looking at DAG is essentially there to provide and validate data sets. And it's being used by the US Air Force as well as a lot of other entities in order to validate information. Now, when you look at Casper is a totally different project, right? You've got smart contracts, you've got that are upgradable, you have NFTs that live natively on the ledger, you have predictable gas fees. There's just so many aspects to Casper that are really fantastic. That's really specific for enterprise. But there's two different sets of partners, two different use cases, two different consensus mechanisms altogether. So, if you're very limited on your funds and you're like, this portfolio is all the money I have, and I would much rather bet on Casper than DAG, that's perfectly fine. But if you feel like you have a little bit more time, right? You've got money coming in the next 6 to 12 months. It's probably a better idea to just slowly DCA into that new project you like instead of chasing that shiny new thing. Again, I hold DAG and Casper, but I definitely been allocating a lot more aggressively to Casper in the most recent months.
Very situational, Maddie. It really depends on what you're holding, what you have, where you've allocated. Great response. So, do you not think XRP will decouple from Bitcoin?
So the crypto market so far, right, has performed as a whole. And not to say that there aren't cycles within crypto, right? We know that Bitcoin generally leads the cycle. We see Bitcoin dominant surge. We see altcoins not necessarily suffering, but just not performing as well as Bitcoin. But when Bitcoin does take that pause and we see, dominance drop a little bit, that's kind of when we see the altcoins like XRP really start to pick up steam and generally outperform Bitcoin over the long term of the cycle. Altcoins will outperform. Now, it's not necessarily on the exact same schedule, like one for one. People go, oh, well, see Bitcoin perform better. But we haven't even gotten through the whole entire bull cycle yet. But do I think that XRP decouples from Bitcoin specifically? It's possible, right, that we see some coins decouple and start to act on their own. Maybe if there's certain infrastructures get implemented that where we're seeing XRP being used for CBDCs and for other things, and maybe that has a heavier pressure on the XRP price. Maybe we see that decouple from Bitcoin. It's possible. But again, when we look at investing, we're looking at cycles, we're looking at charting. We always have to look at what has happened historically with an asset class. And we have to assume that that's most likely going to continue in the future until we see that cycle break. So I personally don't think that XRP is going to decouple from the crypto market anytime soon. Can XRP outperform compared to other coins? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think that we're going to see XRP doing multi-1,000% gains while the rest of crypto is in a bear market, including Bitcoin.
Great breakdown, Matt. Why would you sell into fiat? It'll literally revolutionize the global financial system when implemented. I believe he's talking about XRP here. You'll definitely regret selling.
Yeah, so and I get this a lot. And like I said at the top of the show, I try not to be a maximalist. I'm an investor, I'm a trader, and I'm here to make money. And it doesn't mean when you sell an asset that you don't believe in it or that you don't intend to reinvest in that asset in the future. It's just how I strategically approach investing, right? A lot of people, because they don't want to be hands-on with their investing, they reach out to a financial advisor or somebody to manage that money for them. They take some fees out to do that, and they put them in some slow and steady stuff, and they don't care as long as over the next 30 to 40 years they have enough for retirement. And for me, that's not enough. I want to be more than enough by the time I'm ready for retirement. So for me, I always want to capitalize on market cycles. And they will come. I don't care what narrative comes along. Everybody's been talking about the utility setting in, and then we're just in this forever bull market, and that's really just maximalism talk. When you think about any market, right? If you look at the utility of Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, right? They continue to do amazing things, build new products, acquire new customers, branch out constantly. That utility is just continuously growing on an exponential scale. But that doesn't mean that Apple and the Microsofts and the Amazons don't go through bear markets when the rest of the stock market's in a bear market. So if you have the opportunity to set yourself some targets using Fibonacci extensions and you look to scale out of your position with it, again, I don't think crypto is an all in or all out thing, selling 60 to 80% of my bag at my targets, that gives me more dry ammo when we do get a big collapse, which we always do in crypto, 60, 80, 90%, to be able to increase my overall position. So you can think about it as I'm, selling into worthless fiat, or that I'm working towards a much bigger goal of accumulating more coins using compounding gains.
Yes, if you guys want to know, he just mentioned Fibonacci extensions. Matthew actually did a whole breakdown in one of our old technical analysis academies. You guys can find that on our YouTube channel, or if you want a really deep dive in our beginner course, Maddie, we actually did a little bit of support and resistance, really entry level stuff for beginners, if you want to get in that way. Amazing portfolio, but why no quant?
Yeah, I get this one a lot, and I know that the quant community is a very strong community, and we generally rally under the same umbrella of those ISO 20022 tokens, right? The tokens that are compliant with the upcoming messaging upgrade for transferring money between different countries and financial institutions. So I completely understand why the quant community is so bullish, especially look at the overledger technology. When I build my portfolio, I want to be super selective because in doing this professionally, right, running an education company, you're always going to get people coming to you with new projects, say, what about this, what about this, what about this? And it's so easy, like we talked about earlier, to chase that new shiny thing, right? And I not to say anything about quant, I think it's going to do really well in this next bull run. I think it's got great adoption, great partnerships, Digital Pound Foundation, really very well connected. But when I look at my portfolio, that's probably about 50% already ISO 20022 tokens. I don't want to be spread so thin specifically in one category. I'd rather maybe allocate more heavily to some of my other bags that are oriented in a different sector like Zcash, right? And really play on that privacy play because I know it's, first of all, not a very well talked about asset right now, as well as a very unique utility that people will have demand for in the future. So again, I think Quant's going to do well. I've just chosen my ISO 20022 tokens and I'm sticking with those.
Great, Matt. According to the SEC, all your coins are security. They will go to zero.
Well, first and foremost, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a financial advisor, but I do have my paralegal certification, so I know a little bit more about just legalese and reading these documents that are coming out of the cases for Library, for Ripple, for a lot of these things, right? And it is important that we pay attention to what's happening right now from a grander perspective for the entire crypto space, because the outcome of this Ripple case can have huge bearings on how the entire crypto industry gets to move forward, right? First of all, how much of that business stays here in the United States, as well as, out of the remaining businesses in the United States, how many of them are actually willing to, register as a security, which takes away the entire benefit of crypto, right? We can transfer coins to other wallets, to other people very quickly, even if we're talking about a slower coin like Bitcoin or Ethereum, in 30 minutes or less, right? Because it's not a security, right? When you transfer a security, you have to fill out all this paperwork to transfer to other brokerage. Someone's got to review it. It can take upwards of 2 weeks to transfer your shares or your stocks or your securities from one brokerage to another brokerage. And that completely eliminates the benefit of crypto as a whole. So, I think one thing important to remember here is when we look at the SEC, a lot of people who aren't familiar with how the legal system works, and they look at the SEC and they go, wow, that's a very big, powerful entity. And they said, Gary Gensler or whoever it is at the SEC says, this is a security. But you have to remember that the SEC is like law enforcement, right? They can accuse someone of committing a crime, but the court decides what is and what is not a security. So Gary Gensler can say that everything's a security and you're selling unregistered securities and you're hurting investors in this way. But again, it's up to the court to decide what is and what is not a security. So we really need to see this play out all the way to the end. But I do see something highly beneficial for everything I hold in my portfolio. I've hand selected it very carefully for intentions exactly as this, right? Including holding 50% XRP. I know for some people it seems risky, but again, if you read every single document and you pay attention and you surround yourself with good resources, you have no reason to be afraid.
Love it, Maddie. There was actually a question I wanted to pull up. It was someone like questioning your portfolio because you hold 50% XRP, which is very similar to me. And I followed in your steps, and I do when you pull out again those Fibonacci extensions. And what do you have to say, Maddie? I'm gonna pull out my own question here. What do you have people to say? People say this a lot. They look at the last cycle and they look at, XRP didn't even touch its all-time high. What do you have to say to that?
Sure. So I think a lot of this a lot of it has to do with perspective, right? Like, when someone says, well, like it's down this much, right? Like what they're doing is taking the peak of price action and they go to the current market price and they go, well, that's how much you're down or that's how much you lost. But like you actually have no perception of my accumulation strategy, my overall average, right? And for XRP, my total average is under 35 cents. So overall, like I've done a really good job accumulating a very large amount of XRP over the last several years. And again, my time horizon is huge. A lot of people are super impatient and they want to see it happen today. They invest more than they're actually comfortable having in the market, which is why they get frustrated because they need to sell back out and cash out their XRP. But the reality is, like when we look at the last cycle, XRP did almost 1,600% from the lows, which is actually a slightly bigger gain than Bitcoin did, making a new all-time high when we look at cycle low, cycle high. So your personal entry doesn't dictate whether an asset did well or not. And moreover, it doesn't dictate if it's going to, not do well in the future. When we look at XRP from a structural standpoint, actually, let's go ahead and just take a look at XRP from a structural standpoint. Let's go ahead and pop out to a 2-week time frame here. I'm going to erase everything on the chart. And this is what I want people to really focus, because a lot of people think about price in hours and days, but I look at price in days and weeks and months, right? And that's really where the less anxiety and panic comes from, because I invest an amount that I'm comfortable investing with the expectation of recovering that profit in a matter of years, not in a matter of months, right? If it happens sooner, I'm here. I'm all for it. Give me the money, pay me, I'm ready for it. But I'm also realistically anticipating that we're more likely to see something come in play with the second halving, with this next halving in 2024 with the Bitcoin bull market. So we look at what happened over here in 2014 when we kind of had, XRP on exchange. This is on the Bitstamp chart, one of the oldest price histories we have here. You guys can see that we made an all-time high of just under 6 cents here on XRP in 2013. Crashes back down to sub 1 penny. Comes back in for a retracement to 2.5, almost 3 cents. Crashes back down and accumulates at sub 1 penny for almost a year, right? And then it just absolutely explodes after it's been an accumulation. So from the previous high to that low over there, it was 1,200 days before XRP actually made a new all-time high, right? So, and this is way before the markets were super matured. People really weren't in crypto yet. If you wanted to get signed up for a Coinbase account, it was like 3 to 4 weeks for them to register your stuff. These are the super early days of crypto. So people weren't even that involved in XRP at this point. So you get this huge, enormous pop, right? So we'll just call it for the meat here. You get this huge pump, a 7,000% pump. We trade sideways for just a little bit here, and then we get a second blow off top. So total gain was 60,000% for XRP. And that total amount was 322 days. So you sit through 1,200 days of accumulation to receive the entire 60,000% reward in under 1 year, right? So I think that people's perspective is when we're here in these moments, it's super easy to get invested, right? Everyone's confident. They love XRP. They can't talk highly enough about the utility. But the second we're back in these accumulation periods, they go, that's it. XRP's done, right? But here's my theory. I think that this structure right here that we're in, right? The most current accumulation structure, I think that this structure is a longer, drawn out version of the original structure that we had down here, right? Because you guys can see blow off top, accumulation comes in for a retracement, no all-time high, no new all-time high, reaccumulation. Look how much sideways boring action was in here. After that second retracement came in, we had 518 days of just sideways, absolute nonsense, not moving anywhere, right? So I think that we're probably somewhere here in this region right now with XRP when it comes to that structure. So what I do is I look at my Fibonacci's, right? If I take the swing high and I take the swing low from that original period, you guys can see, first of all, this is a valid range because we knocked that 55 extension to perfection, which was $3.20 here on the Bitstamp chart. Most recently, we touched that 34 extension to the T here at $1.97. Coming back in for reaccumulation. I think XRP could potentially move a little lower. But if you guys look at the upside here, you guys see that XRP is going to be worth at some point between $5 and $57. Now, do I think we get to $57 overnight in one single candle? No. If it comes, again, I'm all here for it. I'll have 30% of my bag still at that point to choose to either hold on to or sell and reaccumulate at a later date. But this is the bigger picture, right? So I recommend you guys getting on these larger time frames, set expectations for yourself time-wise that don't put you in the stressful position where you're like, if it doesn't perform well in the next 6 months, I'm out. I got to cash out. I got to take my L and I got to feed my family. This should never be dollars that you need to for emergency funds or for feeding for your family or, taking away from other cornerstones of your investing. But, long-term plan, I still see it and I'm all here for XRP at, eventually $50+ in the future.
Jeez, Matty, you're just giving it to them today. You're just giving them all the sauce. Okay, we got one more question. Let's end off on a banger right here. Can you share what altcoins is good to buy? Sometimes we struggle with English on TikTok, but Matty, good altcoins here.
All good. So, again, for me, I try to be very, very selective with my altcoins. I try not to be overly diversified. I have maybe 12 or 14 coins that I accumulate relatively regularly, but I only put my focus on like 4 or 5 of them at a time. And that's really going to bring me the result I'm looking for. I can always rotate and change up that allocation if I feel like I'm too heavily in one asset. But really my biggest focus right now is Casper, HBAR, XRP, and Zcash. Those are kind of like the big 4 that I'm really trying to get into right now. I have other things in my portfolio I'd like to beef up down the road, including, like Constellation Network and, Energy Web Token. I definitely want to try to increase those, but I'm not going to increase those at the risk of taking these assets that I'm heavily focused on right now and not reaching those accumulation goals in order to just have a balanced portfolio. So that's kind of where my focus is right now.
Wow, Matty, you actually hammered. It's crazy. You always amaze me every time we do this because you always hammer these questions. You drill the nail all the way in, and I appreciate it. I hope our team here appreciates it as well. And if you do appreciate it, please leave a like on this video. That greatly helps us. Again, pin comment below. You can become a Crypto Charge member. You can hear Matty go on tangents every single day, morning and night. But until next time, Matty, do you have any more anything for the team to leave with?
Just stay consistent, guys. When you're on crypto Twitter, try not to get sucked into any of the euphoria, whether it's bearish or bullish, and just be consistent with your investing. Don't feel like you're competing with anybody but yourself.
Words of wisdom, Matty. All right, team. We'll catch you next time.